Every hero has 15 signature cards, so one of them has to be the worst. My name is Boomguy, and I am here on Villain Theory's channel to talk about every hero's worst card.
That's right. Although every worst card must have a silver lining, and that's kind of what we're going to be talking about here. Step one, identify the not so good cards, and then step two, it's going to be kind of trying to rank them by saying good things, trying to bring some positivity to the cards that are maybe not talked about so much, or talked about in a slightly more negative light. So even if we don't get the absolute worst card, even if we're aiming for it, it's still good to talk about these cards in that kind of way. So I would consider that an absolute win. And Boom Guy, you are the guy behind the Winning Hand podcast. How you doing?
I'm doing super well. I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me back on your channel. On this series, this is what, the fourth or fifth episode now. This is really fun. I hope people like it.
Is this the fifth episode? Because the core set was one, and this is wave four. Right. So I feel like we've done quite a few of these.
We have, yeah. And hashtag Justice for Shield Toss is still trending. So,
yeah, I meant to show you this earlier. I'm technically wearing my Justice for Shield Toss t-shirt.
Justice for Shield Toss. I love it.
So yeah, Shield Toss. One day we might redeem you. But this is not that day. Today it's wave 4, which starts with the Mad Titan's Shadow, and it's also called Cycle 4, and it goes down until Vision is released. And some viewers from the previous episode might remember we had a certain deal in place that Boomguy would solely get to decide Vision's worst card, because I wanted to decide the previous character's worst card without his input, which was because he was wrong.
Whoa.
No. A lot of people agreed with you in the comments. I think it was quite divisive, which is fun. So I think one of the fun parts of these videos is the discussion that comes from it.
Yeah, I agree. I think, it started off as the two of us thinking about how to say nice things about cards people don't like. And this is a really cool way to do that by going through each hero. It's been really fun to see people in the comments who disagree or agree with one of us or the other one. I think that speaks to the design space of the game and how there's a lot of varying opinions. It's not so clear cut with most heroes, but it's just great to see.
Yes, and it's on maybe that topic, which is the whole topic, which is every hero's worst card. I think we should fly into it. I think we should start picking cards and, see if we agree or not on what their worst cards are. Do you want to choose first?
Can I say something before we start that?
I'll allow it.
All right. Sustained. I brought along some gifts for your viewers, Villain Theory. I have with me 2 alternate art promo cards. They are both Vision. So I worked on these, and I have created some Vision cards, and I will show them off here, and then we will give them away to your viewers. So first we have, I'll just give a sneak peek. This is the Vision card. It's very small. You maybe can't see it super well, and that's okay. A little mystery. It is with custom art, and it comes with a custom art dense and intangible mass form card. And then we also have a full art promo with different art. They are printed professionally. They just like normal cards. They're in sleeves. They're great. Also has dense and intangible. So we're going to give these away, or I brought them to Villain Theory for him to give away, and he can tell you how you might get your hands on these if you're interested.
Yes, I think what we're going to do, we'll have a Google form in the description, so check that out, and you can just enter your email, and hopefully, fingers crossed, you will randomly be selected and win. And I think they look really, really cool. So just to be clear, they are custom promos. They're not like official promos, but they are done so well, and I'm excited for this. So it's a really cool little bonus there for you guys.
Yeah, so I hope that people enjoy them, and we'll give them away, and then maybe when they get them in their hands, I can show them off, send a picture in or something.
Yeah, very cool.
All right. So, do you want to pick first, or would you like me to pick first?
Since you're bringing the swag to give away, I feel like you have earned first pick. So where do we want to go?
Well, this is a tough choice because my favorite hero in the entire game is here, but I want to wait on him because we had a deal. There's a little bit extra that goes into that. I don't want to start off with that. I'm going to start off with another one of my favorites, or very high for me. And that is the big gray machine himself, War Machine.
That's
James
awesome.
Rhodes.
Cool. Let's go to War Machine. So War Machine is one of the hero packs that was delayed in the UK. So I had to wait a little bit extra to play this guy. but pretty enjoyable overall, I'd say. Very aggressive character. Here we are. So, War Machine, what is your pick? What do you think War Machine's worst card is?
We'll just jump. I'll just give you the title, and then we'll talk about it from there. I picked Scorched Earth as his card.
Scorched Earth. So this is the free cost card that deals damage to whenever the internet wants to work and load this picture. Here we go.
There we go.
Free ammo counters removed. Deal free damage to each enemy in play. And I'm going to leave this on the screen because though it pains me to do it because I like this card, I do think overall, across all player counts, all aspects, everything, I also land on Scorched Earth.
Yeah, I actually had trouble with this one. War Machine is a character I like a lot, so I played him quite a bit. However, the reason I picked this card, and we have to say bad things about it, and we'll say good things about it in the second half, it is too many ammo counters. His kind of secondary economy with the counters is interesting, but it is kind of a tight economy, and removing 3 ammo counters is a lot, and it needs to pay off a lot. And this one doesn't. It can, right? If there's a lot of enemies out there, this can really do a lot of damage. But the number of times I find that is the case is not enough. And so removing 3 ammo counters, there needs to, in my opinion, it needs to be more than like 3 enemies to really make it worth it. That means like at least 2 minions need to be in play in a multiplayer game or more ideally, because you're also paying 3, right? It's not just the ammo counters. You're paying 3 resources and this card and removing 3 ammo counters. That's a lot. So it's a little unreliable and a pretty high cost for what it does.
Yeah, I'm basically in full agreement. There's a lot of good things I could say, and we'll save that for the second half. But there has to be a lot of enemies out to make it worth it. And while that is more likely in multiplayer, here's the thing. War Machine is all about damage. He's got shoulder cannon, he's got full auto, he's got his repulsor blast thing. He doesn't really leave minions out unless you go out of your way to do it, and a lot of the time at a lot of player counts, which I think really hits the usability of this card. So that is kind of my main reason why it's, it's good when it's really good, but a lot of the time it's just not something I'm ever going to consider playing.
Yeah, I agree. So, well, we agreed on that one. So, all right, that's a good start.
Yeah, very different to the last episode where we had 2 big disagreements at the beginning.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes here. We'll see how it develops, but 1 for 1 so far.
Cool. So I get to pick next.
It's your up.
Where do I want to go? I'm not gonna pick Vision in honor of you. I feel like you should be the one to pick Vision. And that is gonna, I'm gonna go to one of the ones I struggled with more. I'm gonna go to Nebula.
Ooh, okay.
I struggled with this one immensely. Because I like every card of hers. I'm going to say it. I don't think she has a bad card, but not every card is good at every player count in every situation. And I guess a little bit like with War Machine, I don't think Scorched Earth is bad, but it's not something I'm always really using. And this gravitates me for my choice, which is going to be a Wide Stance.
That was my second choice.
Ooh,
so
okay.
Slight agreement. So in my notes, I wrote the name of the card I picked, and then in parentheses it says, or is it Wide Stance? So I was very close. I ended up on Cutthroat Ambition. Is the card I picked.
So
now, I will say, I'm not a huge fan of Nebula. So I have played her a bit, but not as much as other people. She's not one of my go-to characters for sure.
I am rather a fan of Nebula. So to let the people know, although they've probably seen it on the screen to some degree, Wide Stance, 1 cost upgrade, and Cutthroat Ambition, 1 cost upgrade. And these are both technique cards that she wants to play to get card draw and alter ego, and then to trigger in her hero form when the turn starts there, and so on and so forth. And Wide Stance lowers the damage you take. It's like a little passive bonus. Each amount of damage you take from an attack is reduced by 1. And the special is you get to look at the encounter deck, discard 1, put the others back in any order. So it's a little bit of a mini global logistics there, while also reducing some of the damage you take. Whereas Cutthroat Ambition is basically the special effect when the hero turn starts, removes 3 threat, and its special sort of passive ability, I should say, is piercing and overkill on your attacks. So I guess I'll go ahead first and talk about my one a little bit. And I kind of need to talk about both of them in detail though, but it's tricky. So Wide Stance, I love it. I love being able to look at the encounter deck and move things around. And in solo play, I think this is particularly useful because I can see what my boost card is going to be, and then my encounter card. Or if I'm stunning / confusing the villain, which she actually has some, ways to do that in her kit as well, I could potentially in solo be looking at my next 2 encounter cards, and that is a lot of information that's really useful. The ability to manipulate that by discarding one is really good. So that's just really, really strong. I think the higher you go on difficulty, the stronger that kind of knowledge and manipulation gets. But at the same time, take it to 4-player, very high chance that most, if not all of those, are going to be boost cards, and I think that's a lot less useful. And White Stance could be removed from her kit, and you'd have less information, but everything would work exactly kind of the same. I guess you'd have less techniques, but if you just duplicated the other ones for something to fill in fill in the gaps, it's not doing anything beyond just information, which I actually really think is good, but not at every player count in every situation. So that was why it was my pick. The damage reduction, I do like the passive benefits from these, but half the time you're going to be alter ego with her. It's not a huge gain. It's just a nice bonus, and they all have a nice kind of like bonus. So didn't set it for me. Talk to me about Cutthroat Ambition.
So I focused more on the passive effect here than on the special. Like removing 3 threat from a scheme is good, obviously. So when the special triggers, that's a solid. But she already has 2 thwart on her hero card, so I felt like that was a little bit less useful. And really, those 2 keywords, I mean, those keywords are very situational. Overkill and piercing are just not super valuable most of the time, to be honest. When they matter, yes, they matter. Maybe piercing more than overkill. Overkill is a very niche one, I feel like. So I just felt like I'm playing it down and I'm not getting a ton of value. Maybe the special triggering is good, but I find that she's not usually hurting for thwarting. So that's where I ended up with that one. But Wide Stance was a close second for me. So
I really like Cutthroat Ambition, and I don't think that would have been my second card for her. Only because, she goes Ultrigo a lot. I feel like that threat removal is inherently powerful, and in multiplayer, you just can't get enough threat removal a lot of the time. But in solo play, 3 threat removal is perfect for a player side scheme, which gives you some control over having a good target for it, and I really quite like that. So I'm gonna gently push to Wide Stance, but I still like Wide Stance. I think this is a great card, and I know people in the comments can be like, "But information," and I'm like, I agree. So,
yeah, and I will agree with Wide Stance. I mean, it was a close second for me. I feel like the damage reduction, it's like height advantage, but also has the special of the information, and I think that's a little more valuable maybe than just removing 3 threat. But I guess it depends. I mean, yeah, Wide Stance is fine. We'll go with that one.
It varies. What I do like, I will say about Cutthroat Ambition, if you ever play her in Aggression, some people build decks around having the overkill and applying it to big things like Into the Fray and so on, which is kind of a cool little extra. But likewise, you can do things with Wide Stance. So it's this was a really tough one. I think all her cards are really good. So let us know in the comments if you have a different opinion. I'm very curious about this one, honestly.
Yeah, and she's another one of those kind of like Hawkeye where they're all kind of feeding into her loop, and so it's hard to pick one and isolate it out as like the bad one, because they all work together. So yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Cool. Well, that wasn't too difficult so far. So good.
All right, so the next one is my pick. I think, tough choice. I am gonna go with a bit of a dark horse here.
Okay.
I'm gonna pick Spectrum.
Ooh, that's a fun one to talk about. This is a hero I think a lot of people don't really like, but I quite like a lot, and I feel like you do as well.
I do. I think this. I'm gonna go on a limb and say that this wave is probably the least popular, maybe with heroes. I just feel like there's a bunch in here that people either don't like or are straight up broken. I don't want to say which one is which, but let's focus on Spectrum for now. She's not the broken one. I think Spectrum is a really unique character and has some things going for her. But I think she does have a worse card. And for me, it wasn't all that close. I picked Pulsar Shield.
I'm gonna agree with what you were initially saying, that I don't think Spectrum is broken. I think a lot of people get stuck in the wrong form a lot with her, and I think you can largely avoid that with play choices and deck building. But the card that does that and has that like inherent downside in it is going to be, I think, fairly obviously Pulsar Shield. So I'm in full agreement.
Okay. So the reason I picked Pulsar Shield is because it is a defense card that is. I hate defense cards like this. So you have to defend and then play the defense card. So it forces you to defend, and then Spectrum specifically, it forces you to switch to the form that is the least helpful in the hero phase. So you switch into hero form. If you don't have a form changing card in your hand, then you're stuck with +2 defense when it's your turn to actually do something. So you not being exhausted isn't as good because it automatically readies you, right?
Yeah.
And that's fine. It's basically desperate defense, but like then it forces you to be in that form. So I could just play desperate defense and stay out of her defense form. I just like when it hits, it's good. Like if you have a form change, no, I don't want to say too many good things about it right now. We'll talk about that later. That's why I picked it.
It has good points, but I agree. I mean, just getting stuck in that form, it's the least useful form change. It is still useful, but if you can't get out of it, then you're stuck. And I think Spectrum is in a position where all her like other cards are particularly quite good, I think. So this is the one that just is on a lower level than the others for me.
Agreed. Yeah, it wasn't too hard to find this one.
Yeah. Cool. Pretty smooth sailing. I'm impressed.
Yeah, 2 out of 3 we had full agreement, and then I wasn't far off on Nebula, so it's pretty close to 3 out of 3.
Yeah. I'm something else I thought about Nebula's card, I'll throw it quickly as a downside. Wide stance isn't a problem solver. It gives you information for the future, but doesn't help you immediately. And I quite like some kind of immediate solution. And maybe that will inform my next choice, because I think it's my choice to pick the hero now.
It
and
is.
Boomguy probably knows exactly where I'm going here, because every time we look at expansion box, because it's really easy to just move to it, I'm going to look at the other expansion box, hero. So we're going to hit Adam Warlock now. And here's my little hot take before we even look. I think whatever card we pick here might be our first S tier card in our little ranking of these.
Wow.
Yeah.
So before you pick the card, Valkyrie, I know you're from the Church of Adam Warlock. You are an apologist. You have said before you quite
I'm an apologist.
Why don't you give us like, I don't know, just a quick intro. What do you like so much about Adam Warlock? I think he is one of the not least popular, but like least talked about heroes in the community.
I think he is fairly unpopular, and I say it is unjust. He deserves better. It's kind of a hassle to build and take apart his decks, I will admit, but they also are some of the most unique decks you can get in terms of you can include different cards from every aspect, and then you get all these unique combos within one deck. The downside is there's an inconsistency because he can only take one of each card.
Do more of that later, but for now, let's talk about his worst card, Villain Theory. What did you pick?
I struggled with this one the most, which is why I'm tempted to say it might be our first S tier. I think it will score highly, and because I think every single one of his cards is really good. Not perfect, but really good. There's not a huge flaw. And for me, this might be a bit controversial for some people, but for me, the card of his I generally play the least, it's like kind of the lowest priority in general for me, is going to be Warlock's Cape. And this is a card which will ready you every single turn, which is, very flexible. So, a lot of people would love a card that readied them this much, but for me, with his 1 attack, 1 4, I guess I talked about this a little bit too much before you picked yours, but for me, that's where I'm going with this one.
I actually think that's one of his stronger cards, so I did not pick that one. I went with a card that I feel like should be good, and I would like to be good, but in practice, it ends up being disappointing. I picked Cosmic Ward.
Okay. Cosmic Ward being the one, because upgrade that. When you reveal a treachery card, you get to cancel this when revealed, and then you discard this. And I guess a key thing which you're probably going to bring up, and I'll let you do that, but this is a little word, forced.
Yep. So I'll let you talk about yours first, and then I'll talk about mine, and we'll see where we land.
Cool. I like all of Adam's Warlock's cards, comic stuff, cheap resource generator, Mystic Senses, card draw, I like Comic Blast because it's really pretty good efficient damage card. It's actually pretty nice. It's Cosmic Awareness, again, solid forwarding card, 2 cost, probably removes 5 threat. Fine, really good. I love the control from Quantum Magic. It finds any card in your discard pile, add it to your hand. Yes, it costs 1 kind of extra resource in a way, as opposed to just having that card in your hand, but it's so flexible. And I got really stuck here, Cosmic Ward as well has like different ups and downs. I'll let you talk about that. But for me, Warlock's Cape, it will give me 1 attack or 1 forwarding extra per turn. More if I've upgraded it, but if it turns up earlier or turns up in the wrong order, it doesn't have a lot of immediate impact. It's where I will value the staff, the senses, more because I feel like they're better setup cards. Soul World being like a full heal, I feel like it's almost invaluable. And because he's a bit of a slow build character, Comic Blast and Cosmic Awareness, I need those to keep the game afloat, kind of thing. Like I need those, and it's really kind of a process of elimination that brought me to Warlock's Cape. This is a card that I often play on the second deck cycle, not the first. But anything that I'm rarely playing on the first deck cycle, I'm relegating it. It's kind of that is kind of means it's a flawed card to me, and that is why I had to pick it. Really, process of elimination, because readying up, and he can boost his stats in different ways from different aspects and things. It is good, it is flexible. So I only have good things to say about it, but I have more good things to say about the other cards. Pip the Troll, getting a toughness on a 2-cost ally, really good. So I'm just left with Warlock's Cape is my kind of argument there.
Yeah, I can't disagree with your reasoning. Here's the thing with Warlock's Cape. For me, I tend to play Adam Warlock very upgrade heavy. I play him slower than a lot of other heroes because he has so many opportunities. Right, I can put all the upgrades. I can put Heroic Intuition and Combat Training and Armored Battle. I can put all of them in. I also generally play him with the Symbiote Suit. He's one of those heroes that I put Symbiote Suit on most of the time, if not all the time when I play him, because it enhances Soul World to such a good degree.
Yeah.
But it also increases base stats. So generally, I find he's like 3 attack, 3 thwart when I'm playing him. And so like that's super valuable then to be able to ready him. Even just getting the free ready because he has 2 defense means I can pretty safely defend like Quicksilver and know I'll be able to ready myself and do something else. So I find the cape to be quite valuable. Oddly, it does not give him aerial, which I don't understand, and someone else has, I'm sure, talked about that in the past. But let's talk about Cosmic Ward for a second.
Yeah.
Cosmic Ward, it is a solid card until you already teased it. There's that one F word that I don't like to see. Forced interrupt. So the problem with this is that I don't get to cancel what I want. It feels, rather than being an upgrade, it feels like an event. It feels like, like Get Behind Me almost, where it's like, if I have it on my hand, I can cancel his treachery and you can attack me. That's what Get Behind does. This one, it's like I can play it as an upgrade, but it's going to cancel the first one that comes out. So it might as well be an event. And oftentimes I feel like I'll play it and it cancels something that I didn't really care about rather than canceling something that I actually needed to cancel. So that's my big complaint with it. You have less control.
Yeah, it's such an interesting card because I have a love-hate relationship. I've had exactly like I've played this card, then something almost useless has come out. Like when revealed, give the villain a tough. I don't care about that. It's not great, but it's not what I'm playing this card for. But then this will sometimes block a really bad effect, and blocking something like Advance, Assault, even Shadow of the Past, as a 1-cost card is incredibly good. So I guess it might be accurate to say, and I'm curious how you feel. This card, maybe, Cosmic Ward has maybe the lowest floor of all of Adam Warlock's cards, but maybe the highest ceiling, like highest potential.
I think I could agree with that. I think, potentially it's amazing. Yeah. The lack of control and knowing what you're getting means I often don't play it.
Yeah. It's tricky for me because I think if I had to really choose because of its random nature, I probably would maybe put Cosmic Ward like lower down, but at the same time, the harder the villain, the harder the encounter cards, mod stat, standard 2 even, like things like that. Cosmic Ward just gets better and better, and that's hard to argue against. So it's so difficult with Adam Warlock because I like all these cards. So yeah. What are your thoughts hearing all this?
I think the readying, it just depends on. For me, the readying is more like player dependent, right? So the cape, I described how I use it a lot. You described how you don't use it till maybe the second deck pass or ever. That I think speaks to how you play as a player. So there's variability built in. The Cosmic Ward, I feel like the variability on the villain side. Like I don't have any control over it. I'm just going to play this card out and hope something bad comes out that I don't want instead of whatever. Like, maybe I don't know, maybe it cancels gang up, right? When it would have just surged anyway because I'm an alter ego form or whatever. And that just feels bad.
But
So
what if it surged into something, worse? I'm going to make the argument there are
it's
not a
true.
lot of treacheries that are, especially against, let's say, the top 50% of villains where like it's really going to count. Where one cost to block a treachery isn't worth it. That's my pro argument for Cosmic Ward. That's my last ditch effort.
So you're saying that basically any treachery that comes out, you would be willing to spend 2 effective resources to get rid of.
Not every single one of them, but a significant amount of them. Like I'd say on average, Cosmic Ward is worth the money for me.
I don't feel super strongly about Adam Warlock as a character, so this isn't one I'm gonna like. It's not a hill I'm gonna die on. If you feel strongly about the cape, I will relent. But it's just that forced word, man. If it didn't have that, it would be one of his best cards.
It probably would be his best.
That would be an insane card to
So
be able
well,
to just cancel without drawing a new one.
Yeah.
And I play the protection ally Black Widow quite a bit, which is basically that, but you have a little more control over it. So I really do like being able to cancel things. I just hate when it's taken out of my hands.
I feel quite strongly for Cosmic Ward, but I know I picked last time, so I'm gonna do the really awful thing and leave it in your hands. So I'm gonna give you the final say, and if you want to pick your card, that's completely fine.
Yeah, I'm taking Cosmic Ward then.
Okay.
You're leaving it up to me.
Cool.
I don't think his cape is bad. So
I don't think it's bad either. That's the problem with Adam Warlock. I think all his cards are very, very good.
I think it's one of his stronger cards, actually.
I think if you set up multiple other cards, it's very strong.
I don't know if he has a bad card, but this is what But again, that's with a lot of heroes, right? This is the whole series. One of them has to be the worst, even if it's good.
Yeah.
We only have 2 left, I think.
We do. It's Valkyrie and Vision.
One of us is going to win the lottery, and one of us is going to lose the lottery.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not picking Valkyrie. I'll pick Vision.
That makes sense. So Vision is a little bit different to our other ones because we have that deal where I sort of said, we came to deadlock, I'm going to say, for Star-Lord, and I was like, okay, I'll pick this one, then you can pick Visions in, the next episode. I'm going to give you the power here. Do you want to hear what I would have picked, and then you can sort of take your kind of stance, or do you want to take the reins of Vision because you're the Vision guy and just go for it? I'm totally happy with whatever.
I mean, I love Vision, and here's the thing. I thought, and since we have this deal in place, now this put me in a unique position. I considered cheating here and picking one of his best cards to ensure that he alone stands atop our tier list ranking at the end. I could pick Vivian, and then she would just be on the top. I could pick Solar Beam, and he would have the only S tier card. But I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to play this one fair. So I'm going to pick what I picked, and then I want to hear your choice, and we'll just treat this like anything else. But if we happen to disagree, then you're going to lose.
Okay.
For Vision, I did pick what I think is his worst card. And before I get into talking too much about it, I think it's Vision's cape.
Cool.
I didn't pick Warlock's cape, but I did pick Vision's cape.
It's so hypocritical. How can you pick one cape and not the other?
I know.
Yeah. Warlock's cape, Vision's cape is, I think, a solid pick here. Do you want to hear about mine now?
Yeah, I want to hear yours.
So I was really torn. It was between Vision's cape. I will say that was down there. And this is going to maybe upset you or some people, but Mass Increase for me is so annoyingly inconsistent because I'll either get an Alter Ego or an Intangible form, and he has a card when he changes form to grab it. But if I go from Intangible to Dense, I'm getting it on the hero turn, so I can keep it in hand, but then I've had to, it's lost a little bit of value there. Or if I'm in Dense and going Intangible, again, I'm in the wrong form, it doesn't work in that form, So as a defense card, it's one of the most inconsistent ones for me in the game. But, when it's right time, right place, it is good. So that's my little piece said. But I think I would have conceded to Vision's cape. I might have even picked Vision's cape. So let's hear you talk about that as the Vision Master.
Mass Increase was my second choice because I have the same frustrations you have with it. I think we're pretty much on the same page with this one. I think, well, before we go there, let me just ask you, do you know how many heroes have a cape upgrade?
It feels like 50 of them out of like 55, but I think it's more like, I'm going to guess 6 off the top of my head.
It's, well, if we cheat and one of them is a cloak, we would. It's not technically called a cape, but it's still the same thing. There's 4. And we
Okay.
had 2 of them in this wave. Of course, we had Strange. He has a cloak. And do you know the other one off the top of your head?
Storm.
It is Storm. Oh, wow.
Storm is one of my favorites, so I know that card
They
well.
all give Ariel except for Warlock. He does not get Ariel from it. Anyway.
Why does he not get Ariel?
Actually, Vision doesn't get it from his cape either. He gets it from his gem. But anyway, so Vision's cape. It is... Here's the thing with Vision's cape. I think it's 3 effective resources for very situational advantages. Retaliate can be nice, but it's not always necessary. You know, if you're fighting someone with a lot of tough cards, it's great. Otherwise, you know, you ping one here or there, it's still valuable, but it's kind of meh. Stalwart isn't super valuable. Like, on the face of it, it seems like it is, and he's really the only one that can get to Stalwart at will. Maybe Rogue, but we can argue about that later.
And Storm.
And I guess Storm, okay. She gets everybody. But Stalwart isn't super needed because if you're in intangible form, you already basically are stunned because you can't attack anyway. So I feel like you get less of a benefit there. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, if you're an intangible where you are Stalwart, you're basically already stunned. Like, you can't attack. So, you're getting less of the benefit. I think I play his cape maybe on the second pass, but there's a lot of games I just don't play his cape. I don't find it super impactful. His defense card, on the other hand, is decent. I think it's a solid card. It's weakened by the fact that you have to defend. Much like I said with Spectrum, you have to defend in order to actually use it. And then you're getting that stun. And that can be good, but it's hard to get it. You either have to hold it, like you said. Often I will use Jocasta to get it too.
Hey, Boomguy?
Yeah.
Is your cat okay?
Yeah, can you hear that in the background?
A little bit.
Yeah. Do we need to re-record?
No, I think it's kind of funny.
He's mad that the door is closed and he can't come in here. Anyway, so that's kind of my reasoning. I use Jocasta a lot when I'm playing Vision and Protection because it lets you get that. But yeah.
Yeah. I think I agree in general. I've got some good things I could say about this, and I'll try and save that for the next part. But in general, Stalwart is matchup dependent, and a lot of matchups it's not triggering very often. Or if I'm stunned in dense form, okay, sure, I can change form and get rid of the stun, but now I can't play that attack. What am I going to do? These would be more useful if you got Retaliate in intangible form and Stalwart in dense form. But it doesn't make thematic sense. It doesn't make thematic sense.
No, but it would be so good then.
It would be so good then, for sure.
Because I do love camping out in intangible form. I think that's like what makes him the most unique. So if you had that Retaliate, that would just be crazy.
Yeah. I don't play him that way as much as you do, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, the cape, I think, is a very solid pick.
You play him to flip the mass form all the time, right?
Yes, I mean, if I'm playing Injustice or Leadership, I'm flipping like crazy. If it's Aggression or Protection, I might do more of the sit and the intangible thing. But it can vary a little bit.
Ugh.
I'm gonna have to do it, guys. I'm gonna have to pick Valkyrie. And here's the thing: I don't like being negative about any character.
Okay.
But we've talked about it. I've talked about it in different videos. A lot of people have. And spoilers, I'm going to be on an episode of The Winning Hand, Boomguy's podcast, and we talk a little bit about Valkyrie there. It's not the main topic. She's not perfectly functional in every way, and you can make her, especially in multiplayer, if someone, babysits her a bit, helps her out, but she's kind of flawed. And for me, there was multiple choices that I could pick here, but it really
not a good sign.
It really came down to 3 choices.
Okay.
And I have one choice that I feel like stands out above the others. So for me, the card I'm going to pick, and this kind of goes in my theme of not liking the defense stuff so much, but it's going to be Shield Maiden.
Okay. That is not the card I picked. It was initially the card that I thought, I read up some notes, and when I first started, I kind of went through and put what I thought their card was, and then I dug deep and looked at the list again, it did not end up actually being Shield Maiden. I know you can hear them.
It's I feel like your cat doesn't like Valkyrie.
I mean, the feeling is mutual. I ended up actually picking Valkyrie's spear, and we can talk about each. I'll let you talk about yours first, and then I'll talk about mine.
I think your cat agrees with Valkyrie's spear. I'm 50% like kind of between these two cards, and I'll shout out my other honorable mention. It's going to be Annabelle Riggs. I think this signature ally is very underwhelming. But the defense stuff is just doesn't function properly because you want Deathglow to be on minions really, and it's going to be the villain who's really attacking you, which is why Shield Maiden, and I'm just going to say it, I think for Valkyrie Spear, they're not as good. And I'll let you talk about Valkyrie Spear in more detail, but for me, Shield Maiden, it's a one-cost event. When the enemy attacks with Deathglow attached, you get to basically, defend without exhausting, and you get a nice bonus. And I think that's good, but when am I putting Deathglow on the villain? Well, it probably means I'm like ending the game kind of thing. And if I'm ending the game, they're probably not attacking me. And it could be the turn before I end the game. I could get use out of it if they happen to draw it on that specific turn. It's fine. I guess there's some minions that you don't defeat immediately, and you might get some use out of it. But she doesn't have a lot of money to play with, so using this for a minion, I don't know. It just feels bad, and I don't like the art.
I also do not like the art. It feels a little too cartoonish for me. So this is basically Desperate Defense.
Yes, except it doesn't have the defense trait, which makes it even worse.
Which makes it worse. Yeah, it's not traded at all, which is odd. I think, the reason I didn't end up going with this is because you don't have to exhaust. So essentially the spear, if you think about the attack from the person that has Deathglow on it, right? The spear is effectively the same as Shield Maiden, except you have to exhaust. And that for me was the defining difference. Like, I play the spear, it's restricted, so I can't play anything else in a restricted slot. And then I get +2 defense if I exhaust and defend the Deathglow attack versus Shield Maiden, which is a 1 cost, and I get +2 defense without having to exhaust. So that ended up being the main difference for me. I think this Valkyrie Spear is just the armored vest.
Yes.
For a character that doesn't want to defend, like she just doesn't want to, whether it's they have the Deathglow attached to them or not. She wants to be attacking and readying on her turn. So, and if you add Deathglow to the villain, a lot of her cards are just worse or just bad. So that doesn't really work either. I don't feel strongly. I feel like both of these. I mean, Annabelle is a 2-cost ally, so she's just valuable because 2-cost allies are good. So I feel like she's above these two even.
Yeah.
You could take your pick out of these two. I mean, you could shuffle them up and just pick one, and I think you wouldn't be wrong, to be honest.
What I like about Valkyrie Spear is I can get a bonus from it without putting Deathglow in a place I probably don't want to put it. So it's just I feel like Armored Vest is better than a lot of her cards. I'll say that. Well, not a lot, I guess, but it's because she only has 1 defense, so like defending inherently isn't something she's super motivated to do. But that's I just hate where I have to put Deathglow in the place I want to, on the enemy that I want to defend against with Shield Maiden. So
to be honest, I don't end up playing either one of these.
Yeah, if you don't feel strongly in it, I'm gonna push for Shield Maiden, but I really don't feel strongly about it. So
I don't feel strongly. Pick Shield Maiden then.
Yeah, let's say the art is a deciding factor because I feel like the art for the spear, I actually quite like this.
Yeah, I quite like it. I don't understand why neither of her pokey metal weapons give her piercing, but I guess that's a different discussion.
Well, the funny thing, there are some like firearms and range things which don't have the range trait, so it's one of those. It's maybe it's comic book physics.
Yeah, I don't know. This card is just both of these are bad, so
yeah.
I'll take Shield Maiden. Sorry, Valkyrie. This was not a hard choice.
This was rough.
Yeah, there's a couple of contenders here.
Cool. Well, then I think we have all our choices for the wave, which is pretty exciting.
Yeah, let's head over. Let's run over to the tier maker and see what we can get up to over there.
Here we are, ready to rank these worst cards that we picked for the Wave 4 Heroes. Glad to see you made it here on time, Boomguy. And where do you want to go first?
Ooh, well, let's just jump in with my guy. Let's go Vision. I want to pick his cape.
Okay, so bottom of D tier.
Wow, that was unnecessarily rude, sir. Let me see. Okay, it's an upgrade. It's okay. It is better than. I'm gonna say it's better than Big Hands.
Ooh. I'm I'm gonna softly disagree. I
Okay,
My feelings on it put it kind of around top of C, bottom of B.
I think it's better than Adrenaline Rush. Sorry, Accelerated Reflexes. I can't
Ah,
see. It's a very
yes.
small screen.
Yes.
I think it has to be better than that, right?
I mean, I feel like that's more universally useful. Of course, just for Quicksilver, I mean, I don't know.
Ooh,
I'm
okay. We disagree a little bit
we
here.
we disagree a little bit, but it's a cooperative thing. So for me, I think I put it here, or we can try
I
and
would
talk
put
me
it.
around.
I would put it right above Big Hands. That's where I would put it.
So that's one,
Right.
two, three, four, 5 spaces up.
I mean,
So,
would you rather play this or webbed up?
hmm. So if it's purely my tier list, I'd probably move webbed up down. That's the other argument. But okay,
Mm-hmm.
I could live with it being here. I could live with it being there in the middle of B, kind of as a compromise. How do you feel about that?
I think it's better than all of the C tier ones. Just looking at them, in my opinion, I think you
Hmm.
could. I think in the B tier you could start discussing. I do think it's better than Accelerated Reflexes, and that's where it starts to become a real debate, in my opinion. I think
Hmm.
webbed up, it's yeah, and Groot's. I am Groot. I mean, I think it's for me, it's in this range of like the middle of B tier.
Yeah, I'm
So it
happy with
works. It works there
this.
for me.
Cool. Let's stick with this, and when you're not looking, I'll move it down a bit.
Oh, so let's say nice things about it. Like that's the other thing we have to do here. We ranked it. Now
It
let's say
is.
nice things about the card.
It does have some really good things. I feel like is your card your special pick? I feel like you should get to say a lot of nice things about it starting now.
Retaliate is great. There's not a lot of ways to get retaliate in the game, so that's a super cool thing. I don't spend a ton of time in dense form, but being able to ping off those toughs is really nice. It's also really thematic. I think the stalwart thing, we did poo-poo it a little bit in the first half by saying he's like basically already stunned and intangible. However, if you get any kind of status card, right, it's nice to be able to know that all I have to do is just flip to intangible and those just fall off. Like
Yeah.
status cards are basically irrelevant. The villain can confuse me or stun me as many times as they want to. All I have to do is change forms and that's it. So that's actually a really cool thing, and those are two keywords that most heroes don't have access to. So it's a very unique vision thing, right? Not everyone,
Yeah.
almost no one can get retaliate, and almost no one can get stalwart. So I think that's pretty cool.
And slightly off topic, I'm going to do something for the viewer's sake because in this section, I feel like it's a little bit hard to see these smaller. I feel like on mobile people are going to struggle. So viewers on screen will see Boomguy going on a magical journey to the corner here, and then we can enlarge this, and
Ooh,
then hopefully you
that's much
guys.
better to read.
So if this is better for you, let me know in the comments. But we can't change it now, so yeah, I'm. But back on
For next
topic.
time.
Back on
Yeah.
topic. I'm happy with the cape being there.
Where do you want to go next?
I would like to go. This was a painful one for us for Valkyrie, so I think I'm gonna just get the pain out of the way early. And I'm going to tentatively drop this in D tier. In fact, I'm going to drop it at the end of D tier, and you can try and say nice things and move it up. I'm going to wish you good luck.
I mean, it belongs in D tier. Where in D tier it belongs? Boy, better or worse than Ground Stomp. I hate to always poop on Valkyrie, but I feel like it does belong at the end there. But let's say nice things about it. It's basically desperate defense, but it's not locked to an aspect, right? So you have the ability to defend and get a bonus and not be exhausted. That can be valuable. It's not defense traded, unfortunately. Help me out with nice things about this card. I'm at a loss here.
It's a Valkyrie card that you can sometimes play if everything lines up in a way that you don't really want it to, but you could play it, and that's better than a card you couldn't play theoretically. And I think
it is potentially playable. Yeah,
it does.
I just
It has a low cost. Has a resource icon, which I can't see in the way it's displayed here, but the resource icon could be useful if you're trying to remove an attachment. You could spend it that way.
You could spend it on another card. That is the best thing we can say about this, huh? You could spend this on one of her other cards. I'm sorry, Valkyrie. I think that's where it belongs. I just don't play this card. I just don't find it good at all. So
let's Yeah. Let's move on promptly. I'm gonna say let's leave it there and move on promptly. Like I play all these other cards more than I play Shield Maiden.
100%.
So it's sometimes there are different quantities of cards that has an effect, but I never want to play this. And it's not really like a niche situation where it's really good. Like definitely just doesn't belong on the villain. So yeah, I want you to pick me someone else to move a card to, and I want it to be someone we can say a little bit more positive things about that card.
I want to pick Cosmic Ward because I'm very curious. You came in and mentioned that this might be our S tier card. Now, I said that on the last episode, if you remember, about Drax. That was my hot take at the start of our Drax discussion. He ended up towards the bottom of A tier, so I was wrong, but not by a ton. Looking at it now in the cold light of day over on this side of the episode, do you really still think that's an S tier card?
Boom. I would.
Really?
Not an S tier in terms of like the whole game, but in terms of the worst cards we're ranking here.
In terms of this list, you would put it S tier.
One cost to stop a treachery, even if it's like a little bit of a blind fired one. I like it. I personally, if it were up to me, I feel like by the end of all the last few waves, especially the mutant waves, we probably put one or two cards maybe like above it, or like I don't know how many. But for me right now, like it's not situational like Electric Arrow for Steady and Star or the Shield Toss, which is good, but like it's better if there's more things out. Magic Shield, it's good, but it's one cost to stop 3 damage. I feel like if Cosmic Ward stops a whole attack with something, like its ceiling is just so high. That really pushes it up for me personally. This is a funny thing where you might have to talk me down. I have to say bad things about it.
I'm thinking about it here. It is really good. Being able to stop treacheries is a really powerful effect. And, I talked about it being like an event because it happens when it happens. But it's not an event. Like I don't have to have it in my hand. I do play it out and then worry about it later. If it didn't have forced, this would be an easy conversation. Well, we wouldn't have picked it.
Oh yeah.
We would have picked a different card. I think. So let me just, before I talk you down, where would you put his cape? If we had gone with your choice, his cape, would that be an S tier card for you?
It'd be S tier, but slightly low S tier. But I still think the cape readying every turn for 2 cost a card, like just so reliably and flexibly, and I do think it would be up here.
I think Cosmic Ward is better than all of those A tier cards. So I would either put it ahead of Magic Shield in A tier, or I'd put it up in S tier. S tier is what, 10%?
It can be whatever we want it to be, I think.
Okay, but it can't be very much. So we really can't have very many cards up there. I would leave it there. I'm comfortable with that. I think just looking at the other cards, Magic Shield is good, but it's better than Magic Shield. It's better than the Arrow. It's better than the Shield. Yeah, let's leave it up there.
Hey, like it's so interesting for Adam Warlock. I feel like he's not considered as super powerful here. Like he's perfectly powerful enough in the game, but like I think his identity card, it doesn't give you any instant resources. You have to discard a card to get an effect from it. Like the turn one, like it's a little bit of a weaker identity card in terms of output early on, but his cards are just, I think, solid throughout. I like to be analytical, etc. I'm a nerd, everyone knows that, but sometimes I like to just see how I feel when I drop something down there. And for me, this feels wrong. I think I would like to keep it at S tier.
I think it's interesting that in Wave 4, we now have back-to-back the worst card and the best card.
Yeah, that's...
And Adam Warlock, interesting call. You was your hot take going in. I thought it was going to be Drax because I just could not find a bad card in that deck. But
there are a lot of these. Yeah. None of these cards in A tier are bad cards whatsoever. No. Like these are all objectively good cards. I'd even say most of the B tier. Like I'm happy with, like in the context of their hero kits, like generally happy with them. But yeah,
I agree. Into the C tier is where I start to find some dicey cards that I'm not sure I would play. All right, then you pick next.
Okay. I think I'm going to get the most boring one of the ones that remains out the way. I think it's going to be Spectrum's Pulsar Shield. It's a good defense card. It leaves you in a bit of a weird form, but I like this a lot, to be honest. Like, the good side of this is, yeah, it leaves you in the wrong form to use your stats, even though you're already up in solo, but in multiplayer, there's a very high chance you use this to defend, then you just exhaust to defend somebody else, and that's useful. And that's, or if you just have an easy way to change form afterwards, then it's not bad either. For
also
me,
effectively gives you healing, right? Let's not forget that.
The form change is initially useful, and even if you happen to be already in the defense form, you get retaliate, which isn't, it's not as good as one healing, but one retaliate is still useful. For me, I think this is minimum halfway through B and maximum just on A tier.
I don't think I can go to A tier.
Okay.
I don't think it's that good. What's the highest ranked defense card we have so far before this one?
Actual defense card. I don't know if we've picked one. I think
not a single one.
That was Shield Maiden.
Defense.
Oh, it's not traded defense.
No. We actually don't have one. We have some defensive cards, right?
Accelerated Reflex.
Accelerated Reflex and Webbed Up both are defensive cards.
Simp Suit.
Yeah. I guess Too Stubborn to Die is kind of a defensive, and Magic Shield. Okay, there's a bunch of defensive cards. I would put it above Venom's attack. I think I'd move it up one more, maybe even two more. It is a really good defense card. The problems with it come with everything else in Spectrum's kit. It's not this card's fault that she gets stuck, right?
But
this card is just good.
It is the interaction. It changes your form to the least desirable form. I'm gonna walk back my words slightly. I don't think it's A tier either. I'm gonna walk back that it's next division escape. This is how I feel right now. Mm-hmm. This is where I've landed on it personally. I can move it up one or two based on your preference.
I would move it up one more. Cool. I'm like souring on Venom's attack card the more I look at it.
I don't hate his attack card. That's the thing. I mean, I guess I don't hate most of the cards like B tier and up, but
no, I don't hate most of these cards.
But yeah.
How would you feel if we did some adjustment of other cards?
I would be fine with that, except we're probably going to disagree on the moving of them. But yeah,
I think Accelerated Reflexes needs to go down.
I feel like it needs to go up.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah, and we tried.
Let's leave it all where it is for now. Let's go to who's next.
I think it's your pick.
I'm gonna pick War Machine next.
Cool. Where's Scorched Earth gonna go?
So we were kind of negative. I think Scorched Earth is, to me, my gut says it's right above Webbed Up by the cape. Like my initial reaction puts it somewhere in the middle of B. It is effective, but it's very situational. You have to have the right things in play, and it is very expensive.
If we were talking 4-player mutagen formula, I think this card goes like up to A or S tier, like easily.
Yes.
But if we're against
has a high ceiling, but has a low floor.
But if we're against like I don't know, Absorbing Man Solo, this card might as well be D tier to me because I'm not playing this card like almost ever. Like no. So I do think maybe somewhere in B is a good shout for it because it's maximum potential and like the use case there deserves to be respected. It is good if you have enough targets. Like if you have enough targets and like a really minion heavy thing, it can go crazy, especially with new card Come Get Me Bub or anything like that. If you can bring in minions and then just like hit all of them, that's pretty immense.
Yeah,
I think I like this card here as well.
Okay. Oh, that was easy then.
I'm gonna.
B tier is growing, which it should be, right? It should be a bell curve.
Yeah. Although I might make a small argument to you here. I might make a small argument to change one other card we didn't talk about.
Okay.
I had a comment recently, and I can't remember who it's from. I'll put the name on the screen when I edit this. They were talking about Spider-Woman's attack card and how just playing an aggression card, it is going to get you +1 to your basic stats. And part of me thinks it just is in a slightly different league to the others. I could see myself putting this one here, just based on its interaction in her kit. That is the only place you would be playing at.
Okay, so what if I'll make you an offer.
I know where this is going.
I can move up her card. But in exchange, I'm gonna need to see Accelerated Reflexes go down a little bit.
Fine.
All right. We have an accord.
We have an accord. You came to bargain, and it
how are
worked.
You feeling about that D tier?
I feel pretty strongly about this. I feel like all these cards are notably worse than all the C tier cards.
Yeah, I agree. Do we need an F tier for Shield Maiden?
We need the V tier.
V tier.
V for Valkyrie. And Vision. No, joking.
Whoa.
I like Vision.
Yeah, the Valkyrie card. Yeah, I think all those cards are significantly worse than the C tier cards. We have one more then.
Yes, so I'm gonna wait. Was you picking? Hold on, I've lost track. I think I'm picking
War Machine.
Yeah.
is your pick.
I know how this game works. I know how this video works. Wide Stance Nebula. Honestly, part of me is tempted to put this in S tier as well. Like in its best places, in its best situations, it's the same thing for me. It can mess with encounter cards and potentially save you from a really bad one. For me, that's incredibly good. But then take this to 4-player and certain situations, and I'm moving it down. For me, I'm going to nominate A tier somewhere. So it could be B tier, but it could be S tier. I think this one will divide people in the comments. Some people would be like, I don't like Nebula, I don't like Wide Stance especially. I think the people who really love to play Nebula a lot really appreciate Wide Stance. But I think I'm going to drop it here and tell me what you think.
My gut was the top of B tier.
So not too far away.
Just as you were doing that, I kind of like immediately my thought was above Big Hands, which I also think Big Hands is, I would push that down. But Wide Stance, I still would prefer the synth suit, I think. And the synth suit just keeps getting better with cards that come out.
I'm going to make the Hawkeye argument for his arrow. If I have Wide Stance in hand as my only preparation, I am probably definitely playing it. Like, it's got that playability that makes it good within the context of the kit. Whereas a lot of these other cards could be passed on with no, like, big deal. There's no, like... So, just by the preparation of its trait as a technique, I feel like it gets a boost.
And I think you're right. And I think I might even push it higher than, like, above Too Stubborn to Die, which is a game saver, but really comes with a lot of downsides for me.
Yeah. Funnily enough...
I mean, it means you don't lose, but, like, you're not in a good spot.
It's funny that the new cards we got with Nightcrawler, like Come Get Me Bub, I've used that with both Black Widow and Drax, and it makes me like Too Stubborn to Die less, because I think it's so good for Drax. Keeps him alive. But it makes me like Synth Suit more, because there's more opportunities to trigger it on the hero phase after I've been Alter Ego, which is really interesting.
I was thinking, well, I mentioned new cards that came out. I mentioned Come Get Me Bub was the one I was thinking of for Synth Suit. I think that's been great for Black Widow. I'm comfortable with it there, I think.
Yeah, I think I
don't think it's an S tier card.
No, there are certain situations I could treat S tier uses, but then a lot of the time lower uses. So
I feel like you could do that for a lot of these cards, right? Like
a lot of the A tier ones.
you could find a scenario where it's S tier. Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
I think I'm comfortable with this.
I'm
Big Hands. What do you feel about Big Hands?
I feel like in the context of Miss Marvel's kit, this is such a necessary good card, but it's obviously the embiggen tax. So I think I'm gonna be a hypocrite here because we moved stuff up, and I feel like we should be selective. Maybe I was wrong because I feel like the bell curve. You're right that it should be kind of. I feel like B should be wider than A, and I feel like this makes sense in league with the other attacks.
The biggest, right, with the bell curve, and then C and A should be roughly equivalent, and then D and S maybe also, but. That's not how it works out.
The S tier for a worst card steal list is, I think we can be very selective.
We are going to be very selective. No, I'm happy with where this is at right now.
I'm going to make the prediction we don't have a single hero-specific resource card ever touch this list.
No, I don't think we will. I think that's a pretty safe assumption. There aren't that many, and they're just resources. They're just good.
Unless you count Shield Maiden as a one resource card.
That is harsh and honestly a little rude. I expected better from you.
Yeah, but it's accurate.
Where are your manners?
I left them in Asgard.
Yeah, that's a bad card.
Yeah.
All right. Well, next up we have Wave 5, which is going to be fun.
The Web Warriors and a couple of champions. That's going to be a really fun wave to talk about because I feel like that is the wave where the design philosophy changed. I'd love to ask the designers about that. I feel like up until this point, they had one design philosophy, and then the Web Warriors feels more like the modern philosophy. They all feel a little bit newer, but I also don't feel like they feel necessarily too much newer than the heroes we're getting this wave, wave 8. I feel like there's a changing point. That's just how I feel, and I'm curious if that will play out in this list at all or not.
Yeah, and just a reminder, down below in the comments, if you want to win the promo cards, Vision promo cards, please follow the instructions in the comments or in the little down below, and we will get those out to you.
Yeah, they're really cool. They're really well done.
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, this is awesome. Villain Theory, thank you for having me. I always love being on your channel. This series has been a ton of fun, and I can't wait to do the next one.
Yeah, thanks for being here. If you guys haven't watched or listened to Boomguy's The Winning Hand podcast, definitely go check that out. Links again will be around. And yeah, see you guys in the next one.